Welcome to Clay Mastermind with Don Grant. Mental excellence and industry insights. Brought to you by the Clay Lab, your ultimate podcast for mastering the mental game of clay shooting and gaining exclusive insights from the top minds in the industry. Join us as we dive into the strategies of elite athletes, uncover the secrets to peak performance, and share powerful techniques to enhance your shooting skills. Plus, get behind-the-scenes access to the leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of the clay shooting industry. Get ready to elevate your game, sharpen your focus, and gain insider knowledge from the best in the business. Let's get started. Here's your host, Don Grant.
Okay, folks, I have Rylie Sass, who is an avid clay shooter in Northeast Florida, and I've met her through my shotgun club. She's been coming in for about a year now, but also she recently started helping with our Kids League, and she regularly attends our NSCA events. So, for that weekend warrior, competitor type person, Rylie, we're going to get to know you, so thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Can you give a little synopsis of who you are and where you're at in your life? And we're going to then dive in after that.
Yeah. So I'm 19. I'm originally from South Florida in the Fort Lauderdale area. I moved up here about a year ago to the Jacksonville area. I ended up graduating high school a year early, so that jump-started everything. I'm on track to graduate college early. And I just recently started coaching, like Don said, the sctp team at Amelia Shotgun Sport.
How long have you been shooting clays?
About 2 years. I started in 2022, strictly trap for probably about a year. Then I worked at a gun range, Markham Park. It's a county-owned range. Some of the guys there encouraged me to shoot more, so got into the sporting clay side of it. But backtracking, before 2022, I tried it when I was younger. I grew up, my mom and my dad shot shotguns. I used to go out with my dad and shoot 22s and stuff like that, but just didn't love the shotguns at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So once I decided I wanted to do it, my dad took me out to the youth league that Markham Park has and had someone else coach me. And I worked with Joe Loitz there for gun fit and fundamentals, and then quickly moved on over to Steve Norris, who helped me a bunch with shooting with both eyes, getting more comfortable shooting left-handed, things like that.
Nice. So what do you like about clay shooting? What's you involved now that you've started?
I would definitely say my love for the sport. I find it I don't think therapeutic is the word, but it's my place to go where like some people shopping and certain things like that. That's my thing, to get away and have fun.
Uh-huh.
You also meet amazing people. I've met tons of different people that have opened opportunities for me and things like that.
Nice. So what school are you going to?
Currently, I'm a sophomore at University of North Florida. I'm studying criminal justice.
What do you plan to do with that?
Hopefully something in law enforcement, investigation. I grew up, my dad was a corporate investigator. My grandmother worked with different police departments doing investigation, records, data entry, pretty much everything in-house. So I always found it interesting hearing stories and kind of seeing behind the scenes. So
that is very interesting. And I bet you'll have a lot of fun with that. So how did you start actually competing with the clay shooting?
Funny story about that. I was actually terrified to start. It's just a little intimidating hearing the word tournament. One of the guys who worked at the gun range with me kept pushing for me to shoot sporting clays, try competing at the monthly shoots. And so he called me one day and told me he registered me with the NSCA. I was off that Saturday to come out and shoot. So that's when it started. I think that was end of 2023. So that's where it started. I haven't stopped. I shot every monthly shoot we had, and then once moving up here, started with that. He pushed me to go to like the Honeybell shoots with the all women to see different places and just not seeing my home club going to other places.
Right, right. You are a resilient young lady, and that one of the things that I had observed, first of all, she's also super confident. Like, she came into the club, she was by herself, but she had no problem, coming up there and getting involved in the competitions. But you also had a gun fit issue recently that was like wearing a hole in like your collarbone, like shoulder area. Oh my gosh. And she kept shooting and kept coming back and was just so resilient. I was really impressed. So, there are a lot of new shooters out there and women shooters. So talk to us about that experience a little bit.
So before that issue, actually, I had a different stock on my gun. I had bought my gun used off of somebody, so it was made to fit them. The comb was just a little too high. The stock was too short, so I dealt a couple months managing that, changing stocks, trying different things, and then I got it figured out. Moved up here, changed my recoil pad, not thinking anything of it, and then with not shooting as much, I didn't notice it. And at one of the tournaments, I saw everyone was staring at me. And I was like, God, why is everyone looking at me? I'm not doing amazing. I'm just, what's going on? And my dad was like, well, look at your shirt. You've got blood all over. And so that's when I found out that something was wrong. So after months of dealing with it, trying to figure it out, I spoke with Joe Skull. He actually told me that I cant the gun a little bit and the recoil pad is too thin. I was shooting too heavy loads. So I moved down to 1 ounce. I got a new recoil pad and the issue has been solved.
Nice. Yeah. When, a lot of times when somebody deals with pain or suffering of any type, they want to bail. They don't always want to keep going. So, what kept you coming back and not giving up or wanting to quit or just being like, this just hurts too much or something?
I think it definitely has to do with the way I was brought up, just the no quit attitude, and like being told you can't do it makes me want to do it more. So like if people saw my shoulder and said, oh, stop shooting, like I would want to just do it more, not only to prove to them, but to prove to myself that it's just a little scab it would turn into. So I was fine. It didn't hurt in the moment. After the fact, it did.
Okay.
So I usually didn't think about it.
Right, right. What do you enjoy about competing?
I think definitely the community of people. Everyone's there for the same reason. Everybody wants you to have fun, shoot well. Nobody's there to see you fail. There's plenty of people that are willing to take you into a squad and give you pointers if they can. They'll always, hey, good job, or little encouragement pieces along the way that makes you feel good.
How often do you get to practice?
Definitely not as much as I'd like to. Now with balancing school and work, I shoot probably once a week, if that, and I always try to get out to that monthly shoot, but I definitely like to shoot more, but as everyone knows, it's a financial commitment. So, and being in college and everything, it's tough.
Do you see yourself continuing to shoot, and do you have goals for what you'd like to achieve in your shooting?
Definitely. I plan to keep shooting. Hopefully, if my schedule allows it, I would like to shoot more than once a week. I'd also want to possibly look into sponsors down the road when I can make more commitments. And just, even if I can't compete all the time, just to go out and be able to have fun for a couple hours.
So being fairly new to the sport, what would you say were some of your immediate challenges?
Gun fit right off the bat definitely was a big thing. I would also say when I started shooting, I'm right-handed. I do everything right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant. So I switched over to shoot left-handed. So that was a challenge to learn how to do this foreign thing with shooting left-handed. So that was definitely tough to learn, but once I did it, I couldn't imagine going back to shooting right-handed.
And how did you identify that?
Joe Lloyd, when I worked with him, he told me I was left eye dominant, and I was like, no, I'm going to shoot right-handed. It feels more comfortable. And then I moved on over to Steve Norris, and he got me to shoot with both eyes open, and he pushed so much to get me to shoot left-handed so I could get to my full potential.
Yeah. So what are some of the other challenges that you've faced?
Another big one was moving here. This was a more recent one. When I moved here, I came alone and still wanted to shoot. So going out for practice was fine. Just to shoot on your own wasn't a big deal. But when it came to the monthly shoots and different events, to show up by myself and kind of wait around for someone to squad with, that was definitely scary to sit there and ask and people tell you no for whatever reason. But once that was all sorted out and I met an amazing group of people, that changed a lot.
Nice. Yeah. Because you have a group that you shoot with now and also are doing the youth league with,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Another major challenge that I came in contact with that I'm sure a bunch of other female shooters have seen is just being a female in this industry and coming in contact with the groups of people that, I don't know if it's a stigmatism that they have against women, but like we can't do it, or we don't know what we're doing, we're unsafe, that kind of thing. For me, it wasn't so much a big setback just because if someone tells me, no, you can't shoot with me, I'll keep looking. Or if they tell me, oh, you can't shoot up above the 50s, I'll strive to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely difficult. And I know plenty of other women face that.
So give me some examples. You'd even used the example of someone even saying that it's unsafe or that you can't shoot. Has somebody said things like that to you or made you feel like that?
Yeah. A lot of it even ties back to when I worked at the gun range. I was the only female range officer there. So starting out, obviously, with that stigmatism around me being the only female, nobody wanted to come shoot on my field or go on my squad out in the woods to shoot a sporting clays course, just because maybe I didn't understand the safety rules well enough. And then at my workplace, that changed once people saw me shoot, and they were kind of like, she does know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And then even first starting out shooting, I had tons of people tell me, we've had too many people on our squad, and you see them go squad up with somebody else. Probably just because a young girl shows up with a shotgun, you haven't heard her name before, she probably doesn't know. She's not as experienced, is a good way to put it.
Curious, what would make you feel that that's more female related than age related? Like, was there anything specific that made you think this is more about being a female than it is about being, young?
No, I think it's more gender rolled, because you could have a 19-year-old boy come up and want to shoot, and I've seen it happen firsthand where people, come shoot with us. Just because it is more male dominated, you don't really see a lot of females in it. Just from my experience.
Well, I totally understand. I've shared in other podcasts that when I became the owner of the Shotgun Club, there were men that were literally physically upset about it.
Yeah.
Red-faced, shaking, yelling in the clubhouse. And you've been to my clubhouse, so can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, standing there freaking out like they just, I don't know, lost a family member, like saying, you'll never be able to pull this off. You can't do this. This is unbelievable. This has got to be a joke. No woman can own a shotgun club. And, and probably about a year into it, there were still rumors and people saying, I know men that will never come here because it's a woman-owned shotgun club. Very interesting.
I agree. And I think it's insane to say because, the shotgun range is thriving. So you have great outcomes with your events and everything. So.
Well, and the club's been around for almost 20 years. And I saw the records before I bought it. I saw the QuickBooks, and the club's doing better now than it's ever done in the whole entire history of it. So I must be doing something right, even with the guys that refuse to come because it's woman owned. So woman power, I obviously like to employ women also. And Rylie had asked if one day she could work for me, and she will once I have an opening. There will be a spot.
Those were really only the main challenges that I came in contact with, just because I kind of have that. If someone's negative towards me, it pushes me to just do it.
I can relate to that also. It's a really interesting thing because I almost laugh inside when somebody doubts me in any way. I have a t-shirt that says, what does it say? Doubt me, that'll be interesting, something like that. That'll be fun. So I think that's what it says. Doubt me, that will be fun. And, I've talked to other people that have that same thing. And I personally am not a competitive athlete type person, but I do think, Joe's told me that is my competitive nature. If somebody tells me I can't do it, that I'm going to prove them wrong. And I don't want to just prove them wrong. I'm going to triple whatever they think I can't do. It's going to be a bang.
I agree.
To show them. Yeah. Have you seen that work for you or even against you in different ways in your life?
In what sense? If someone with the negativity,
just wanting to step it up and maybe prove somebody wrong. Have you seen that working for you in other areas of your life or even against you in any area?
Definitely with, I drive a stick shift. I just chose to do that. And when I told people that I was going and driving up a couple hours with my dad to pick up this truck, everyone was like, "Oh, why are you getting a stick shift? That's so pointless, or you won't be able to learn that." So we got there and I fell in love with the truck. I still have it. I prefer to drive a stick shift now, and I just to say that I can do it. Similar with in some past jobs, if mainly at the gun range, just because it was so male dominated. Seeing people, I'm not going to shoot on her field because she's a girl, but then accumulating my regulars that came for me to pull for them and things like that. I grew up, my dad, after he was an investigator, he started pressure cleaning. So I worked for him. So when people would hear that I pressure clean, you kind of get just a weird look of why. So
I gotcha. I've noticed, with clients and all that those that tend to be really analytical or numbers oriented, even the ones that are high achievers, they a lot of times can end up struggling in their performance when trying to compete with clay shooting because they bring that into the clay shooting, they're measuring too much or they're analyzing too much or, if they are this go-getter, then, they're used to making things happen and getting things done their way or,
Right.
So do you see anything like that with how your mind works and how that carries into your clay shooting?
I would definitely say once in a while I catch myself overthinking. For me, I just need to be laid back and just get in the box, shoot, rather than standing there and thinking, I have to lead it this much, I have to be this far in front of it, things like this. I'd rather just let it happen, do what feels right, rather than thinking too much about it.
Yeah, if we were to break down the personality type of someone who wants to be a private investigator, let's come up with some adjectives to describe a private investigator. What would be some of the strengths that would make somebody a good PI?
Definitely motivated.
I'm thinking of detail-oriented, see the small details, find the small details, assess data, compile the information, analyze the information, inquisitive. Yeah, so it would be interesting to see how some of that might carry over into your shooting.
Right.
And like everything in life, there's pros and cons to literally everything. There's a light side and a shadow side. Being analytical and liking to gather information and data and assess it could be really great. Like you would do that during your show pair, right? When you're planning your shot, gathering that information, gathering that data, coming up with a plan, crunching the info, but then it could be at a detriment if it's too much.
Yes, I
Right? If you
agree.
don't let go, which is one of the things that you had mentioned.
Definitely. Watching the show birds, I take in as much as I can, watch where my break point will be, where my hold point, where my look point is, and just processing that. But once I get in the box, if it doesn't go to what I planned in my head, it's going to happen.
Yeah. So how do you let go? How do you do that for yourself?
I try not to, I wouldn't say joke around, but I try not to talk too much between stations. I try to still stay focused. Um, when I'm in the box, if I miss a pair, I try to forget about it and just shoot as if it was my first pair rather than thinking about it too much and then you're overthinking and getting all these little details in your head that will throw you off.
Mm-hmm. Um, has anybody taught you to assess a miss to find not only the good in it, but what you could possibly implement immediately?
Yes. My dad has been a major help, and also a guy that I worked with at the gun range, John Roberts. He worked a lot with me on the sporting clays course with setting targets and practice. So he taught me if I miss a bird to what can I change? Not a major change, but what is minor that can possibly make me break both birds. So, for example, if I'm too close to the trap, I might be chasing the bird, so maybe move my hold point a little bit farther out, and you won't be chasing the bird, you'll just be right with it the entire time.
Right. I'm glad that somebody did teach you that, because a lot of folks are under the impression that they should just move on from a miss and like, not assess it at all. One of the reasons for that is because they don't know how to look at the information neutral. They're going to look at it and they're going to be upset. They're going to be mad. They're going to be resentful. They're going to attack their confidence. They're going to just be in a really cruddy mind space before they move on to the next pair or the next station. And so then they just avoid it altogether. They just either pretend that they broke it or forget about it and move on or try to forget about it.
Right.
But yeah.
I'll assess what happened. Why did I miss that bird? And once I figure that out, I do forget about the pair that I shot before just to get the negative thought out of my mind so that it doesn't affect the pair that I'm about to shoot.
Right. That's great. Because there is really valuable information in a miss. And it could be something as simple as I just wasn't ready when I said pull.
Right.
Or I let my mind think about, something that was said to me earlier or a squad mates, driving around. I allowed my mind to think about that. And so those are easy corrections and they can be made. But if somebody doesn't stop long enough to assess the information, then they're missing a really easy opportunity to make a fix.
I agree. That's something we try to teach the kids as well with the youth league. Just if they miss one bird, see if they'll fix it themselves. But if it's repetitive and they're doing the same thing, ask them why did they miss the bird? Do they know why? What can they do to change it? Kind of teach them starting out early to make those changes.
Yeah. So what is your experience with coaching youth?
I shot with the youth league at Markham for a year till I turned, I think 17 or 18, around there. And once I stopped shooting with them, I started helping coach a little bit, just little pointers here and there, and sitting back and watching Joe Loitz and Steve Norris do their thing. And then my dad started coaching for the youth league as well. Watching people shoot and coach has definitely helped. And then I became certified with the sctp. So that started a couple months ago with my coaching journey.
Nice. Yeah. So you did go through that. I wanted to make sure people understood that that was a step that you took. And how was that learning process for you?
Definitely very informational. Easier. I don't want to say easier, but not as challenging as I thought it would be. Most of the points that they gave, I kind of knew from working around guns for a year, like the safety aspect and certain things about ammo and guns. So it just refreshed my memory, which was great. And I'm very glad to be getting more youth into the sport. I think that's important. I wish I would have started younger when my dad originally wanted me to. I regret that now.
Well, hindsight is 2020. It's hard to know
Yeah.
that you're going to end up loving something so much.
Yeah.
What have you enjoyed about teaching the kids league so far?
I think seeing their improvements and how excited that they'll get over, it might just be one bird, but that's a big accomplishment for them, because I remember when that was me, and being able to shoot this many targets in a row without dropping one felt amazing. So for them to be able to experience that, and for me to be able to say that I helped, is
Nice. Nice. What are your observations related to the mind game and the phrase that it's 90% mental? Have you come across that phrase, and what's your belief around the mental game?
I have come across that phrase. I completely agree with it. I was always hearing that phrase, especially starting the sporting clay side of the sport. John Roberts would always tell me it's mental, like certain things you can't think about a miss because you'll most likely miss your next bird just focusing on that. So I completely agree. I could be standing in the box and think about, oh God, did I get gas in my car? And there goes the pair. Little things like that that definitely affect what goes on in your mind.
Good examples there. Have you done anything to work on your mental game? Have you come across things in the years that you've been shooting to help you with that?
I've noticed on practice days when I get out there, just you're there to shoot. There's no need to think about anything else. It can be handled afterwards. And even on tournament days, if there's pressing things that need to be done, I try to get them done before, just so I don't think about them and have to worry about anything, so that I am in the best mental state. And it happens to everybody. You get thrown off of your game a little bit. So that has also happened, but definitely just trying to calm yourself and tell yourself you're here to shoot. You can worry about everything else later.
I like that little kind of secrets of excellence that you shared there related to anything pressing that in your life, right? That you tackle it before you go. I think that's a really great tip. I've seen that in my own life, so if I know I have something that's really important that an important meeting or an important event, or if I'm going out of town, I will tackle as much as I can of the things that are timely, so they're not weighing on my mind at all. And it feels so good when you do that, doesn't it? And it really is freeing.
Definitely. I've definitely learned a lot of that since moving here, managing 5 classes a semester with working and shooting. Just getting your priorities straight. If you know you have a shoot on Saturday, make sure that essay is done by Thursday or Friday, so that you're not concerned about it in the middle of your tournament.
Nice. Very good thinking. So have you ever experienced the zone in shooting or in any other activities in your life where it seems like everything just disappears around you and you're in that moment completely and you just feel great and you're at your best? And you ever experienced that?
I think so. Yes, I have. Definitely doesn't happen often, but there's been days on a couple tournaments that I've showed up. I've gotten to station 1. I've started off good. I've got a good mental state going. I'm not worried about anyone else shooting, anyone else around me. I'm seeing the birds clearly. Everything's just kind of going right, so that stays for the duration of the tournament. I feel like that I'm just very focused. And then I had a question about the zone for you. Is there like a fine line of being too far in the zone, or how does that?
That's a good question. So I wouldn't say there's a too far into the zone, just because the zone is like an umbrella term to describe what is a peak performance state. So I wouldn't say that you can go too far into like a peak performance state. What's likely happening if somebody's too far into something, it would be like too analytical, maybe trying too hard Those are some of the things I think can be in the too much, too much of
Right.
something, too much analyzing, even too much thinking about the past, too much thinking about the future. But none of that is included in the zone. So I've asked, thousands of people at this point if they've
Right.
experienced the zone and then how they would define it. And I like to think of like a puzzle with the really big chunky pieces. And there's only like 8 pieces of that puzzle that make the zone happen or describes the zone. And therefore, if you knew how to do these things, then you can make the zone happen. But one of them is time flies by. And there's a lot of ways of saying that. Like I was at the last station and I couldn't even believe it. Like I could have kept shooting. It just was so great. So time seems to fly by. Another one is everything seems to disappear around me. So I've worked with golfers that say the camera crew was watching them or following them and they didn't even see it, or there was a crowd around them. Those types of things, like golf carts or side-by-sides driving around, like they're not noticeable.
Yeah,
You've
I've
had that?
definitely noticed that because I'm the type that if I hear a side-by-side coming, I will stop what I'm doing to let them pass because I
Yeah,
think that that's going to screw me up. But then there's been times where I would say I've been in the zone and I'm shooting and I didn't realize that 4 groups just drove by.
exactly. And I'm glad that you said that because right there is an example of what would keep you out of the zone versus what the zone is. So if we could recognize that zone is everything seems to disappear around me, then if I am constantly thinking about or wondering about or frustrated about the side-by-sides, that's going to keep me out of the zone, right? So you could see like one's going to help you be in it, one's going to help you be out of it.
Yes, makes sense.
Let's see, another one, they'll say, I wasn't analyzing, but that same thing is I had a quiet mind. I wasn't thinking. It just happened. So that's another element. Another one I've heard over and over is it didn't even feel like me pulling the trigger. It just happened. And then they can say that was intuitive or that was instinctive. I shot intuitively. I shot instinctively. It didn't even feel like me. It felt euphoric, meaning it felt amazing, like a high, like there's this natural high that goes along with it. The targets seem slower, they seem bigger, they were easy to break, they were easy to see. So I don't know if I hit all of them, but in summary, it's like calm, totally engaged and present and focused, but it's focused with the mind, not just the eyes. So giving the eyes something to do, but giving the mind something to do also. And one of the ways that a lot of instructors teach that is to find a detail on the target, something very specific and detailed on the target. So if you think of those kind of pieces of the puzzle or those pieces of the zone, there really can't be too much of those things, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I think that somebody trying too hard to be in the zone or trying too hard to maintain the lead or maintain a streak or be too careful because they are doing so well and they don't want to lose it. Those are kind of the too much type things.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you experienced those before, like trying too hard or trying to be too careful?
Yeah, definitely. Trying too hard just in my head if I see a pair and I know that it needs to be shot like this, but I'm trying too hard to get the perfect lead by measuring and little things like that, or even getting too comfortable where you're missing super easy birds that you can hit that I've practiced a million times. There's both sides, but definitely.
Yeah, what do you think happens with the too comfortable?
I think you just get used to, you see the pair and you get used to, oh, I've shot this before. I don't need to put as much effort into it. Whereas it's just like any other pair that it takes the same amount of effort. If you want to break it the same way, you need to put the same effort in.
I have a hypnosis audio. It's Plan, Prepare, Focus. And it was after speaking to so many clay shooters about that inconsistency thing. Not only why can't I perform as well as I practice, but also why is it that I can break the hard ones and not the easy ones? the last pairs and not the first pairs, or the first pairs and not the last pairs. Yeah.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
I feel like they all fall into the same category of not treating each target as if it's, your one and only, and nothing else before, nothing else after. Doesn't the score doesn't, you don't have to think about the score and the what ifs, like just being in that moment and having the level of respect for that moment, for that target, no matter the score, no matter if it's first or last pair, no matter if it's easy target or hard target, no matter nothing. Right?
Treat it the same. Yeah.
And that's the going into your process, like plan, prepare, and focus, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever had that feeling that it didn't feel like you pulling the trigger, like shooting instinctively or shooting intuitively?
I don't think so. I've definitely been aware of I'm going to pull the trigger now, and knowing this is where I plan to break it or this is where I have to break it. I'm usually pretty aware of that. There may have been a few times where I'm shooting a pair and there's a bird and it's broken in the next second. Something like that. But I wouldn't say for the duration of an entire event or multiple stations in a row.
Well, girl, you have that to look forward to one day. It is a fun thing to experience. So I do have one of my lessons in my online courses called the 7 Elements of Peak Performance. And that's related to, as a human being, which is, has this body, this brain and this body and these body parts. Like, I believe that in order for those things to all function well, in order to be your best, best at whatever, but in this case, be your best at performing in a competition, that you have to take a look at what you're eating, what you're drinking, your physical fitness, your sleep, your faith, your mental game, and your mechanics. So in your experience, have you noticed, let's say, related to your eating, how food or lack of it, or what type of food affects your performance?
Yes. I definitely think that all of those factors play into your performance. Food specifically, I know for myself, if I shoot a tournament on an empty stomach, I probably will not perform as well as normal just because subconsciously I'm probably thinking about, oh, I'm hungry, what's for lunch, things like that. But that goes into, I think, every aspect of it. Like if you don't get enough sleep the night before, I notice that I'm not fully aware of everything going on. I'm not fully there.
And that there's information related to hydration and how well you can see, like your vision, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So much for you to learn still.
I know.
So your little eyeballs are affected with whether you're hydrated or not. And then the shape of your eyeball can then affect your vision for your shooting competition.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then let's say not just, whether you're hydrated, but then we could take it a step further and whether you're getting electrolytes, or you could go the opposite. And that's like if somebody has drank alcohol maybe the night before, or too much coffee because that is a diuretic, so there's a lot of things that can go into what you're drinking. But then, like with what you're eating, it could be, you could have a carb coma. Have you ever had a carb coma?
No.
That's when you eat so much carbs that you could just go to sleep. Like you become lethargic.
Yeah, I definitely think that all of that plays a role, and it's a different balance for everybody.
Yeah. It's good to know your body because they're different people's bodies respond to things differently, but there are definitely some themes. Well, Thanksgiving dinner, we all just had Thanksgiving.
Right.
That can put you into a coma, right? When you have too much food. What's happening is your body, like the energy of your body that is going into digestion. So if you got really dense food or high carb food or a lot of food, then there's only so much energy in this body. So it's like focusing into digestion, which will then take it away from your thinking and your vision and all these other things. So,
right.
And like sugar can spike and then it can crash you. So they're all just important things to look at as you get more and more serious with wanting to compete at your best. Yeah. Have you ever felt like quitting? Like, have you been doing so poorly at a competition that you just are halfway through or partly through and you're like, why even do this? And I just want to be done with it or anything like that?
I have felt like quitting, not due to shooting bad. It actually happened recently when I moved up here about a year ago. I went to the first monthly shoot you guys had in January 2024. My dad was with me, so I had somebody to shoot with. And then he left after he got me moved in. So I showed up to the monthly shoots on my own. There were, I think, 2 or 3 that I showed up and people just last minute, hey, come shoot with me. And then there was one shoot that I was sitting in the lobby. I would get there at 8 a.m. sharp to make sure I was the first person there for everybody else to see as they walked in. And I remember Dawn, hey, she doesn't have anybody to shoot with if you need an extra person. So I sat there and I told myself if it hit 9:30, I was going home. And then these 2 guys walked in and they needed an extra person. So I ended up shooting that day. And then after that, I ended up finding a different group to shoot with, and I shoot with them consistently now.
I'm glad it worked out because sometimes that is rough trying to get squatted when it's not a pre-squatted event. I'm glad that you stuck in there and that you do have some folks that you shoot with now regularly. That really did work out. Well, good. I'm glad you didn't quit.
So am I.
It does. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of confidence and bravery. And I do see that when people come in by themselves or even are new. They're new to the sport, new to competing and by themselves. It's kind of like, they almost seem like they're embarrassed to ask questions or they whisper, almost, to try to ask how to do something. And I do feel for them.
It is definitely intimidating not knowing anything or being a new person at your local club and things like that. But once you push through that, I have never had a bad experience. I've never heard of someone with a bad experience. So
good. What would you say are some of the best or what you love about shotgun shooting, and what would you say are some of the worst or some of the struggles?
I would definitely say that the best things that I love about it is, again, the community. Everyone's there for the same reason. They all want to see you succeed. You will very rarely find someone that doesn't care at all to give you pointers or just, hey, nice shooting, little things like that. That's definitely one of the biggest things I love, and just meeting people. Some of the struggles had to do with moving here and just finding a groove and seeing that it was going to be completely different than the club that I was with back home, because everyone down there had known me. I worked there. I was there all the time. Whereas here, you have a 19-year-old girl come in to just figure it out.
Bravely. What are some of your beliefs around the importance of having fun when competing, or even at work or anything that you're doing? What's the importance of enjoying it?
I think it's very important. If you're not having fun doing something, you're basically, what's the point of doing it? You're going to be miserable. You're going to dread going to work or going to play your sport, go to school, certain things. I definitely think with shooting, there's a line of having too much fun and being completely out of focus. But then if you're still having fun and you're shooting how you'd like and seeing the results, that's important, because that's what makes it fun and what makes you want to go back out and do it again.
Yeah, so what makes you want to go back out and do it again? What is it?
Definitely the support, the support system I have up here as well as back home, and the fun that I get just from shooting, even if it's on my own. I find joy in it, whether I'm breaking birds or I'm not. It's just something I like to do, that rather than sitting at home or doing homework or working, that's my time to get away.
Do you have friends that are your age that shoot as well?
I have one friend, Matt Daniels. He shoots for Liberty University. I met him through Markham Park. So we definitely get out and shoot whenever we're in the same area. But other than that, I've just met people here and there and ended up shooting with them, made a connection, and just keep on going.
Do you plan on going to larger competitions?
I do. This upcoming year, I plan to try and shoot the Florida Challenge and the Seminole Cup just to get into the environment of having more people at a tournament rather than less than 100, just because I know it's a different environment. There's more people, more things to look at, more distractions. So I want to just start creeping into that a little bit.
That'll be fun. And both of those events are close enough. They're both close enough where you can, not have to get a hotel or anything. So that saves on the wallet for a young lady.
Yes, it does.
Have you thought about going down to like Jack Link's?
I've thought about it. I don't think I'm there yet, but within the next few years, I would like to make my way down for that event.
It's nice because it's close. It's not really close enough to drive each day, but it's close. It's 4 hours.
Right.
So a lot of great people and great vendors and fun targets. And well, you get to shoot Joe Skull targets every month. So he's one of the target setters at Jack Link. So that'll actually give you an advantage. So maybe you don't have to wait as long as you think. You could go. You could go this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could pass on a little bit of wisdom to a new shooter or a young lady shooter, what would you like to say?
I would definitely say to just come out and try it. Whether your reason is you're scared to or you don't know what you're doing, it's a little intimidating, I would say to just come out and give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You hate it. I've never ran into anybody that has tried it and ended up hating it. So see if you like it. If you do, take it somewhere if that's your desire. And if people tell you no or you can't do it, don't take no for an answer. Keep pushing.
That's some good advice. Where do you see yourself in this shooting in the shotgun sports in the next 5 to 10 years?
Hopefully shooting way more frequently than I do now. Hopefully that works into whatever career I have down the line. I would like to be looking into sponsors by then, and I'd also like to continue coaching with the sctp, but also try to focus more on female shooters and getting them into the sport and more comfortable.
Those are some great goals. I love it. Good. Well, I do want to tell the listeners that I have some free goodies at dawngrant.com/free, whether it's my mental training or my Mind Mastered app or even Amelia Shotgun Sports. Well, if they have a child, they can bring that kid to Amelia Shotgun Sports and they can join the Kids League and get some coaching from you. They are
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
They can see you at competitions and Seminole Cup, Florida Challenge, and Amelia Shotgun Sports.
Yes,
and
I'm always willing to shoot with new people.
Yeah, right. Having been there yourself.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Well, good. Rylie, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Well, thank you very much for doing this with me and helping get some information out there for new shooters and the females that are out there that are getting started. So it's very valuable information. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you for joining us on Clay Mastermind with Dawn Grant. Mental excellence and industry insights. Brought to you by the Clay Lab. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and informative. Remember, mastering the mental game is key to unlocking your full potential on the course. And through our conversations with industry leaders, we aim to provide you with valuable insights into the world of clay shooting. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, rate, and share it. For more insights, training tips, and updates on upcoming events, Dawn Grant and Amelia Shotgun Sports are on all social media platforms. Go to dawngrant.com and come shoot at Amelia Shotgun Sports. Stay focused, stay driven, and keep pushing your limits. Until next time, Dawn wishes you success and happiness on your journey to peak performance and industry mastery.